Can use design software such as Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, or Inkscape to build our basic shape. Then after building a basic shape, we import them into Blender to give them the 3D depth. When we use Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or any other out there, ensure to save your files as SVG. Inkscape, an open source software just like Blender, saves its files natively as SVG. That is, all Inkscape files are SVGs. While using this method, you can approach this in two ways. One, you build your assets yourself from scratch. Two, you download pre-made designs and use. First, let's look at downloading an already made design from sites like Freepik. While on Freepik, we can search for terms like tribal patterns or African patterns. So you will see the options that it brings out for you. And once you see anyone you like, it's just a matter of clicking on it. And it brings you here. You click on download, then choose free download. So once you're done downloading the assets, it's just a matter of you going to where you saved the download. I have one here. So it's a matter of me extracting, right clicking, right click, extract all. Now this is it extracted here, and you just need to come in. You can see it comes with this image, a .ai file, that's Adobe Illustrator file, and you can, and then .eps. You can open this in both Adobe Illustrator file and also Inkscape. But I'll just go ahead and open it up in Adobe Illustrator file. It's an Adobe Illustrator. So you can find here now. So it's a matter of, you can see we have like multiple layers here and item here. Now this whole process of what I'm doing now is just to separate, ensure that I select the particular pattern that I want and put it in a separate document, in a separate file, so it will be a single file of its own for each of the pattern I want to extract. So that's the process, and this process you can also do in every other design softwares like Inkscape and other softwares. So it's just a matter of you locating the layer. For instance, this is like one of them that I need. So once I have it all selected like this, so it's just a matter of doing Ctrl C, or I can delete everything and only have this one, but many times just to do Ctrl C, then Ctrl N to create a new layer. Yeah, I think this is okay for now. Just create a new layer, then create, come in here and paste it, and usually I try to like make this 1920 by 1080 because that's like my final output, right? So, and I come, but many times this doesn't really matter because Blender will just still make everything small, still scale everything down. So it's a matter of me coming here, scale up everything, holding shift and alt to scale everything up proportionally this way. So I have this now, so I can give this a particular name now. So it's just a matter of me doing Ctrl Shift S, or you go to file, save as, then I can save this now as swell flower. So that's what I will save that. But mind you, if you're using Inkscape, originally it just saves automatically as SVG. You need to save the file as SVG. So that's one other important thing I need to do now. I come here now, click on this, then use SVG, look for SVG. Now I'm in save as, so I have save as and I have SVG. So I select SVG and click OK, and I'm giving it the name. I click save. Now if you have all other softwares, then it says okay, just okay. The default setting here is okay, just click okay. If you have other softwares, you can always search for okay, how to save as SVG, export your asset as SVG. So with this now this is it here. Now my SVG files are automatically open as Inkscape. Now this is a good practical case study of it's a very good practical case study of what we are doing so far here. You can see this pattern. This was actually extracted from an Illustrator, brought into Blender and give it some depth extrusion. So that's what is happening here. So you can find here, that's the same thing here. So all these patterns here, and this also, this I didn't need to start building this from scratch since there are assets already, a 2D asset already of this. So it's a matter of me bringing them as SVG into Blender, then extruding them, giving them depth. So what if there is a case where, for instance, you have this image and you can't find a vector version of it where someone has designed a vector version of it? So that means you need to build the vector version of it by yourself from scratch. Now what I've just shown you now is like a vector version of whatever flower or pattern. This is like a vector version of it, which is built by the design software. But right now we only have an image of like the symbols or elements you want to bring into your scene. So how do you go about that now? So another way is that you need to build this from scratch now. So it's a matter of maybe you do open with, and you say, for instance, I did open with, right click on it, open with, and I choose Adobe Illustrator. I can use Inkscape or any other tool for this, or even Photoshop. Then I do Adobe Illustrator, then it opens it here. So it's just a matter of me now using my pen tool, P, to bring out pen tool. Now in all other softwares you may have a different shortcut for all of this, but the processes are just essentially the same. So it's a matter of me coming here now. I should create a new layer. Yeah, so just create a new layer now. Matter of me just tracing, just a matter of tracing over this. So I can click on this, trace over this. There are other more refined way that I can do this, but for now just wanted to demonstrate this. So just a matter of me tracing, and if you don't know how to use this tool, this pen tool, now it's a matter of you taking out your time to learn it's not complex, the design software itself. So I'm just using it to define the contour, and the way I work is I like to just go very rough, then later on I can come back to refine. Like all these places are not looking too well, and I need to close, like in whatever I do I need to close the path. So I need to just follow this thing and continue, have one single one, because this is meant to be one element that I want to take into. This is meant to be one element, a one symbol, right? Then everything needs to be one. So I need to continue as a single part to close everything. So I'm just doing it roughly like this. Yes, so this is me. I've gone just roughly around the contour of the elements here. So I now need to close it now. So here I need to close it now. So I just close it and drag also again. So this has given me one path or one curve. So it's a matter of me coming back here to refine this. And I do that with A2. I hit on the A. And as I said, this is not a tutorial on how to use any of these two. It's just to show you the process. And if you need to learn about these tools, you just need to, search on Google, search on YouTube on the tools. You can see in the process now there are like two paths that I've created for each of them. In order to get this cutout here, I needed to create a new one to get the cutout as different from this path that is here. So there are two paths now. However, if we go ahead and bring this, Blender will interpret this as two. So this is separate and this is separate, but with what we have here is meant to be one. So this inner one is meant to cut this one here. It's meant to what is called intersection. It's meant to intersect this one here. So to do that, achieve that, to ensure that they are a single object, so we just need to press the two. I'm holding shift, holding both of them. Then in Illustrator we have what is called Pathfinder. Come here, I click on this Pathfinder, click on exclude. I click on this exclude. Sometimes you may just need to try this multiple. Sometimes I even get confused on which exactly, but at the end of the day, this is one that did it. If you try this one, it doesn't work, just try the next. So this is one that did it. So right now they are of the same, so they are single objects now. So I succeeded in joining them as single objects. If I come here, you can see we have compound path. So they are, before they used to be separate. So now I can afford to, so I can select this my reference image now and delete. So I only have this in here. I need to save this as SVG before taking it into, so I need to now do Ctrl S, file, save as, and ensure I'm saving it as SVG and click save. Have our Blender open. But many times you already have your scene, right? It's just that you want to now place the elements, but this is just for the demonstration of this class. You know what, let me delete all of this. I don't need this for now. All you need to do is come to file, import as scalable vector graphics, that is SVG. So click on that, it brings you this. So the way I like to do is that I come to this here now and locate, for instance, we have that swirl flower that we extracted earlier, and this is it here. So I can copy this path here now, Ctrl C, then come back to Blender here, then Ctrl V. By the way, you can locate this, like you can start looking, but for me this is, I find this much more quicker. Then Ctrl V, just click on it, then import SVG. Then it looks as if nothing happened because it's just too tiny. So you can see I'm scrolling my middle mouse button to look for it, but sometimes you may not even still find it. It may just, your scene may be too big and you're like looking for it. So it's a matter of coming here, like you can find it here now. This is this dwarf. So click on this. Once you have it clicked, you hit in the once you have your mouse hovering in this viewport here, So it's just a matter of you hitting numpad 0, the numpad period, the period key in numpad, or full stop in the numpad, so it jumps at the distance here. So with this now, first off, you need to change the, because many times it still puts the anchor point, pivot point of it at the center of the world origin. So you need to come here, come to object, first off set origin to center of mass, so it jumps at this now. So once I have something like this selected, so many times it's just too small. You know what, let's bring back our cube for you to have a reference of what I'm talking of. Mesh cube, so you can imagine this is our cube, then this is the size of this. Now this is the size of this. So many times you need to, more often than none, you need to, I'm hitting S to scale everything up, so just scale it up to your fitting. So formatting this now, like the most essential thing you need to do is to give it the depth. So let's say this is our wall, right? This is our wall. I want to, have it placed in front of the wall. So it's a matter of coming here. We need to give this a depth first, like it's looking just flat like paper. That is one of the most essential things we need to. So you need to come here, come to this data property here. So you come to geometry. So you come to this data property, which is a curve. Then you come to geometry. Then in extrude, give it some thickness. Like if I take this to 1, this is 0.1 meter. You can see how big it is looking. So but many times I like to give it 0.005. that is this 1 meter, half of this 1 meter, half of this 0.1 meter. So we have 0.5 now. Yeah, many times this is like, or you can also still make this smaller, maybe like 3 or 4 if you want to, because this might be like still too thick for your liking. Then another thing, if it's too thick, you may need to take this like 3 or 2, enter. So this is looking, so it has depth now. Then another thing I usually like to do is to give it, so we just give it depth in the geometry level. We need to also give it some bevel, depth in the bevel. So remember I gave this 0.03, so this one I need to give it 0.000 again, then 3, then enter. So you can see that's giving it some depth. So we'll be talking of other things like the material, changing the material in other this, but for now this is just how to import your. Then if you come here, if you come to the material here, this is the material. You can always change the color to whatever color you want. There is a particular this thing it assigns to it. Every SVG that you bring, this color, this material is usually assigned to it. That's this black color. You can always change the color. Yeah, you can always change the color to whatever you desire. So I just brought this up like this. That before it was dark here, I can barely see anything, so I had to bring this up first a bit. So you can always change this to whatever color you desire. The one we've just brought is a single element. That's an element that just has a single part. So what if we want to bring an element that has like multiple parts? Like for instance, what I showed you here, this is a single one, but it has multiple parts, right? So what if you want to do that? So again, we come to import, then scalable vector graphics, click on that, then it takes you locate your this thing. So this is one I want to bring, this swell flower. Now click on it, then import svg. So you can see it's very, again, you can always come here. Once you have one of these selected, once you have your mouse hovering in the viewport, hit the period key in the numpad key, the full stop of the numpad key, so it jumps at this place now. So you can see it here. So for instance, you can see this has multiple, you can see how many parts this is. So this is the outer one, this one is the one immediately. So you can see, for instance, now we have all these little dots that are, they have the same, because if we're extruding it, we can say this should be bigger, possibly based on the interpretation. Maybe this should be bigger, extruded more compared to this, based on the art direction, right? But however, there is no likelihood where we want to extrude this separately, where based on the direction, like what I have in mind. I'm looking at all of this should have the same property, both color and everything. They should just be treated as one object. So if that's the case, it makes more sense to join them. So it's not a matter of selecting. I think it started from here down to somewhere here. I think, yes, this is all of them. So once I have all of these selected, I just hit Ctrl J to join. So right now they are all a single layer. So, and that reduces the amount of layers that we have here. So the next thing we need to do, because right now by default, once you bring it, everything, the anchor point is at the center of the origin, is at world origin, but that's not what we want. Rather, once we have everything selected this way, we can go to objects, set origin, center of origin to the center of mass. So all of their origin jumps to this now. So all their origin jumps to this now. So I can now scale everything up at the same time this way, or I Ctrl Z on that. Many times I tend to, since this is like multiple this thing, and I probably want to animate, move some parts as different from. So a good practice that I normally do is that I come here, for instance, I select this one in the middle, right? This one is kind of very close in the middle. The anchor point is close in the middle. So I do Shift A, then I come to empty, Shift A, empty, then choose plane axis. So no, let me Ctrl Z on that because it jumps at. So I needed to have done Shift S first, snap cursor to selected. So the cursor is here now and not the origin because I want it very. So once I do Shift A, my empty plane, so it jumps it at that middle there or close to the middle. So I can, right now I want to use this as a driver to drive all of these, so that I want to parent them. This should be a driver to all of this that I have here. So but you can see what I want to use as a driver is just too big. So first off I need to scale it down. So I hit S to scale it down to something of this nature. I think this is okay. Then once that is done, I hit Ctrl A, apply my scale, rename this to flower control flower control, then drag it inside. Make sure, because it's inside this collection, because if you don't, I want just drag it inside this collection, this flower collection. Then hold shift, have all of this selected, then hold shift now and drag, or after dragging this, you hold shift to place it, drop them inside this flower control, so it all becomes a child of this flower control. So with this now, I can afford to say, you know what, scale it up this way. Yeah, to scale it up this way. And once I do this scaling, should also Control A and apply the scale also. So, but this is way too big, but you get the gist. So it's a matter of me coming here now, applying the extrusion to this, like giving all of this depth. So I need to come back to this data, come to geometry, remember, then geometry extrude, then geometry extrude, then I give this 0.005. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so you can see, or we can raise either way. Maybe you can, instead of having this 0.005, you can give this 8. So this is quite bigger. Then this one inside here can be the bevel. Before we go to bevel, the geometry extrusion, we can give it to 0.003, let's say 3. So you can see it's not as thick as this other one, or we can even reduce it to like 2. Let me hide this. So it gives a sense of this, the depth of this one is bigger than this. So we can also possibly give this 0.002 also. 0.002. 0.002, or either way, maybe you can make this one, but depending on your art direction. But this is just like, then remember, we can come give this, I'm thinking of giving this one like make this one very 0.05. Let's see. Oh, that's just too big. Yeah. So then we can come back here and start giving them their bevel. So this is 0.008. So we now need to give it 0.000 again, then 8. So, and I think this is too much for it. Maybe I need to reduce it to 5 or 4. Let's say 4. Yeah, I think this works better. So it gives it some highlights. So in the same way, in this one too, the extrusion is 0.002, so that means something of 0.00, then another 0, then the 2 itself. Yeah, I think this works. So that's just how to, add depth Yeah, so I can go on to do that for the rest, but that's just how to add depth to your this thing. I remember you can always come here where we'll talk of material later, but that's how to, give depth, the workflow of getting it from your design software, your 2D design softwares already that you have, then bringing them into saving them as SVG, ensuring they are saved as SVG, then bringing them down into um, Blender. So that's the process. So we're going to the next approach